So you spent hours putting the finishing touches on a portrait of your mother for Mother's Day, you're hyper-focused on getting all the small details of the eyes, then adding a soft shadow to make it look more realistic, then you step back to take in your masterpiece and... Not to worry, because today I'll be guiding you through each of the steps that I use to capture the perfect portrait sketch. For today's lesson, we have some plain white paper and a pencil. I'm going to start off with this 0.7mm mechanical pencil with a 2B graphite stick. Now we always want to begin our portrait illustration by breaking down the basic shape first before adding in the details. So let's start with a line coming down the center of our page. We're going to start from the very top. Just going to lightly work our way down towards the bottom. And the proportions and symmetry are the most important thing we want to capture at the beginning before we add in the details. Let's draw another line going across from left to right. And we always want to leave the small details to the end. Now we want to use these two lines to help us create a circle in the center of our page to define the size of the head. So from that center point, let's move up. Just going to mark off the top of the circle right about here. Let's measure that distance from the center down towards the bottom and do the same thing. And then we'll repeat that across this horizontal line. So measuring the distance from the center over toward the left and then the right. And then we're going to connect the center point of each mark with a curve to create our circle. Let's start with the top left. And the circle doesn't have to be perfect. We're just using this as a guide. So we just want to capture the right size and placement in the center of our page. Now the simplest way to make our portraits look a little bit more dynamic is to give it a slight tilt over towards one side. So we're going to tilt the head over towards the left. So from that center point, let's angle this up, just slightly over towards the left side, going up, bring that down towards the bottom. And we want to make sure that that space along the top is the same that we have along the bottom. And we want to do the same thing across this horizontal line. So coming down toward the left, a slight angle, then up towards the right. Let's simplify this drawing by taking out those two lines we created at the beginning. And now we want to draw two more lines coming down at an angle along the side of our circle. So we'll start on the left, just follow that same angle we have in the center, and go up towards the top. Let's do the same thing on the right. Now if you don't like drawing in an angle, you can always rotate your paper over towards the right side. Let's add one more line going across the bottom of our circle, again down in an angle. Now you want to tilt the head slightly forward so the eye line is going to sit just underneath. So we're going to step down, draw a line going across from left to right. Let's split each side of that circle in half. So find that center point from the center, come down an angle towards the bottom, and then do the same thing on the right. Let's place the eyes right where these two lines meet. So we're going to draw a circle going all the way around on both sides. Let's go to the bottom of our circle. We're going to sketch out a circle for the nose, right in the middle. And then from the bottom of the nose, let's move down and draw a straight line going all the way across the mouth. Now when you go out to the side, add a little bit more shape to the head. Let's start from the side of our circle. It's going to angle the head coming down and in towards that mouth line on both sides towards the jaw. And then from here, it's going to round out the jaw, angle this down and in towards the chin. We can always come back and just modify the shape later. Let's round out the chin and the jaw. Let's place the ears along the side of the head. We're going to start from that center line. It's going to curve this around and then in like a half circle on both sides. Now we're tilting the head from the base of the neck. So let's start from the bottom of our circle, sketch a straight line coming down. And then we're going to move out and draw the side of the neck. Let's start on the inside of the right jaw, coming down. Go to the inside of the left jaw and do the same thing. Let's give our drawing some balance by lifting up the left shoulder. So we're going to start on the left. It's going to slope this down and across towards the bottom right. We're also going to round out the shoulder and then bring that down. Now from here, we're going to add some shape and volume to the hair. Let's start with that center line. We're going to move over towards the right, curve the hair coming down across the forehead, above the left eye, and we'll bend that back down towards the side of the head. Let's draw on the right side, coming down and out, and then bend that down towards the ear. Now depending on the hairstyle you want to draw, we want to capture the right size and flow of the hair. So we start back at the top, just going to bring this down across the side, go around the ear, and when you give this character some short hair, just going to bend this back in. in. So it's sort of pulling up from the shoulder. Let's go back up to the top, go around the right side, around the ear. I'm just going to give it a flick on the end, going out, and then bring that back in. Let's pull up the top a little bit higher, so the hair is being pulled back. I'm just going to add a small bun along the top. Now that we have a rough sketch in place, let's go back and erase some of these guidelines. Now if everything looks good, we're going to add a second level of detail using this rough sketch as a guide. Let's start with the eyes. We'll start with the eyelid, and we want to bring this in on top of that circle. Just bring that down towards the inside. Now again, we just want to capture the right proportions. We're not getting into too much detail here. Draw the bottom of the eyelid coming in just underneath the eye, overlapping, and then bring that down. Now we want to make sure that the iris isn't on the outside of the eyes. We want to bring that in a little bit closer. Come in towards the tear duct. Let's add a double eyelid going up above that circle. Let's add a fold underneath. And I'm just going to block in the eyebrows. Just on top, we just want to bring this down on the inside. Give it a slight curve. Let's flatten off the inside. And we're going to be mindful of the spacing and the gap in between. Just going to taper the eyebrows out. Now we're going to go back down and add some shape to the nose, starting along the bottom. Now depending on the portrait you're trying to capture, the nose shape will be different. So you always want to start in the middle and just work our way around. Moving down, just adding some shape to the inside of the mouth first, going across, down the lip. And there's a little bit of a smile if we'd like to. And then the upper lip, going across, and then dipping this down. Up the mouth slightly in the middle, and then draw on the lower lip. Go back and just add a little bit of fold on the outside of the nose bridge, coming down. Now that we have a better look at the proportions of the face, we can modify the shape of the jawline. So I'm just going to round out the cheeks, come in towards the jaw, and I can see that the chin's a little bit too high, so we're just going to bring that up higher. Round out the jawline, in towards the chin. Just going to round out the neck, just blending this in towards the shoulder on the left. Just overlapping that shoulder, coming in towards the collarbone. Let's add a little bit of tension on the right side. Come down at an angle, and round this out. And I want to go and add a little bit more detail to the hair. Just going to add some texture going across. It's going to separate the end of the hair going towards the ear. Just pull that up. Let's enhance that part in the center of the head. Just add a little bit more shape to the ear going up. And just tucking that in towards the side. And working the right side. You can see that by starting off with the basic shape first before the details, you get better balance and symmetry of a drawing. Just going to add a little bit of texture across the top, just pulling the hair back. Into that bun. I want to do another cleanup before we get into the details. So now on our detail pass, I switched my pencil to a 0.9mm mechanical pencil. So it's a little bit thicker and darker. I'm going to start back at the eyes, and I'm going to commit to these lines. Again, we can also continue to add some more detail as we go. So I just want to feather out the inside, coming in towards the tear duct. Come along the bottom, across the center. And I want to thicken up the upper eyelid, adding some lashes. So I'm just going to bend this out and up. Just want to feather this out towards the top. Now as we get to the center, we're just going to point these up. Just adding a few on the inside. And then along the bottom, the lashes actually sit along the outside. Just want to come down just underneath the eyelid and just feather this in. Let's enhance that fold. Now before we get into the iris and pupil, we want to do the same thing on the right. So we just want to balance this out. And by going back and forth, we actually balance out the details. And this will ensure that we don't have a lot of detail on the left eye and not enough on the right. And then these lashes just sit on the outside. Now we can see the underlying sketch of the iris underneath, so we can see the underlying sketch of the iris underneath, so we can reposition these if we like. So if it's too far out, we just want to bring these in. So start with the outside, just darken that up, and then along the inside. Going a little bit darker along the top. And we also don't want to bring the eyes too close together. Also look a little bit cross-eyed. Right about there. Now we're going to add a small highlight along the top, so almost like a square. Just want to lightly sketch that in. Add a small circle in the center for the pupils, going in behind the highlight. Now let's darken up the center of the pupil. Let's add a shadow across the top of the iris, going around that highlight. And we want to fade that down to create a glare. So the light's reflecting back up towards the eye. Now moving up towards the eyebrow. We're going to start with the bottom edge first. Just going to refine the shape of the eyebrows and just balance this out. And then from that line, we're just going to feather the eyebrows going up and then out towards that top line. So the eyebrows are a little bit thicker along the bottom. We also want to feather the eyebrows coming in, so softening up the inside edge. Let's go back down and work in the nose. And with the mouth along the top lip, just going to add a light shade going up and down. Let's do the same thing across the bottom, but we're just going to darken up the top. We want to create a little bit of a highlight in the center. So darkening up the bottom and the top. And we'll go back and just darken up the outside of the lip and just fade that in. Now from the face, we're just going to work our way out. Start with the jawline and then the hair. We just want to darken up the bottom edge and then taper that up. So we're just going to add a little bit of texture along the bottom edge, and some contrast. And then from the top, I'm just going to bring this down. You can see that I'm only adding some texture across the bottom and the top. I'm not going to get into too much detail across the hair. Just want to bring the focus back towards the face. Now for this final pass, I'm going to use the side edge of my 2mm mechanical pencil. Just add some shading across the top of the eyelid. We want to be very subtle with this. Just going to bring this down along the side of the nose bridge. Let's add a little fold along the bottom. Adding that shadow and fading that down. Also going to cast a little bit of shadow from the hair on top of the head. Also going to darken up the ears. Now let's bring some of that shadow along the side of the head to give this a bit more form. Coming down. And if you prefer a softer look, you can always go back with a smudge stick. Is going to cast a shadow coming down towards the mouth. Just want to be subtle with this, just fading that down. Also underneath the lip. Add some shadow across the neck. The head's going to cast a shadow coming out towards the left, down towards the right. Let's fade that down. As we get closer to the end, we're just going to tighten up our shadows and detail, and always be sure to sign our artwork. And that's pretty much it. There's our full process on how to draw a female portrait. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. If you did, please make sure you subscribe because I'm posting new lessons every single day. Join us back here tomorrow for another tutorial. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.